Hello and welcome to Kelly's Anesthesia Tips. I gave a teaser before I left regarding information from the Dallas meeting, and I brought back what I hope are some important anesthesia tips for those of you who were unable to travel to the meeting. It was a fantastic meeting with excellent speakers, lots of information, and wonderful networking opportunities. Always good to see anesthesia friends. So I want to start with something that we knew about or at least had a heads up regarding, because we learned last year that the AMA committee was looking at those ultrasound guided blocks and potentially bundling them. So I'm going to share that information with you first if you missed it. Here I'll put all of these resources in the comments section for you. But the ASA let us know that we had a few things happen for us in the anesthesia world. One of them is that they finalized they published the final rule, and we know already that we're going to get a 4.42% decrease in our anesthesia conversion factors for 2023. Now, if that changes, because sometimes they'll publish and then republish, you'll be notified by Medicare usually, because they'll reprocess the claims. Here we have the blocks: brachial plexus, single and continuous, the axillary, sciatic, single and continuous, femoral, single and continuous, and these are all changed in your CPT book. They'll be the same in your ASA relative value guides when we get them. And if you notice here, we have a reduction in some of them, and then similar from the proposed values. But I can tell you that each of these is a reduction of what we used to get paid when we received both the block and the ultrasound guidance with our good documentation. So now with these bundled into it, the proposed value was 1.35 RVUs, which are work units now. Because they're in the procedure part of the book, you're not getting the base plus time like anesthesia. But they actually saw that the value of that should be a little bit higher at 1.5. And I have the information if you need it. Send me a comment about what it used to be together. But that was published by the ASA back in, I want to say, July. So it's very easy to find that as well when they were looking at what was coming down the pike. Okay, as I said, I will give you these. There is some other information regarding MIPS, since most of those are reported through registries now. I know I'm not paying as much attention to it as I used to from the coding aspect of this. So as I said, I'll give you these links. Now, what I think was a really good one from the meeting was right before I left, I had noticed on one of my go-to resources, I'll go to it right now, Dr. Ed Mariano. Excellent, excellent resource. He speaks coding too. You can tell by his resources, and he has updated his website. But one of the things that I noticed right before I left is that he had updated this starting a new regional anesthesia program, because this is where I got my information for PECS blocks, along with Dr. Upadhyay. If you watch this I still remember and appreciate you very much. Dr. Upadhyay used to speak at the Decision Health conferences, and we did a combined session one time where she was explaining the PECS II blocks to me, and I was explaining the coding confusion to her. And what we had ended up on was intercostal blocks. And prior to Dr. Mariano's, for the PECS II, prior to Dr. Mariano's, his website also said that. But there is new information, which he was kind enough to reach out to my email and respond with. There was a change. So he just updated this December the 2nd, which is less than 2 weeks ago. And if you have been reporting 64420, the intercostal for your PECS blocks, I'm going to show you how that came about too. Now we have this listed, and I'm going to, I'll do my own trick, Control F to PECS II. There we go. Now the PECS II has an information that varies from what used to be here. So the PECS I we didn't have so much trouble with because that one was described as a peripheral nerve block. And if your doctors are doing this and documenting it as a peripheral nerve block, we have 64450 for that. However, if they're performing either the PECS I or the PECS II as a fascial plane block, there is no specific code, and we're going to have to rely on the 64999, which is listed under the QL here. But that's what an unlisted code means, 64999, if it's a fascial plane block. So the current PECS I and II differ in important ways. It shows us here. And here's where I'll tell you that we used to have some guidance on this as to billing it an intercostal, but now we will be billing in one of two ways. If your doctors are doing a peripheral nerve block and they document it as such, for PECS I, you can report 64450. If they're doing the PECS II blocks and it is a fascial plane block, then we're going to be stuck with the unlisted code again. And hopefully we're going to get some sort of descriptive codes for these, because a lot of people, we talked about it at the Dallas meeting, are having difficulty getting the unlisted blocks paid. Now, some of them have been very successful in getting the unlisted blocks paid by reporting a comparable code, good documentation, and submitting that with your appeal if you get a denial for the unlisted. But typically when you report an unlisted code, you're sending that information on the front end to avoid a denial. So here I want to now hop over to where we had some information about the intercostal. And this is again a shared document that I have on my website with Twin Oaks permission. Thank you to them very much. But this is an example of the procedure code. And when we looked at those intercostal blocks previously, we're not going to be doing that anymore. This is kind of where we got our information about. They were going through the ribs. But now we have the guidance, and I'm going to go back and show you where it's coming from. A joint ASRA and ESRA consensus has just been published. We'll hop over to that real quick. And that was standardizing nomenclature and regional anesthesia. So if you want to read this more, I won't go through this on here, but I'll give you the links. You can hop over yourself if you follow the hyperlinks. I'm going to give Dr. Mariano's, and I'll give it straight to the regional page so you don't have to hunt for it from the home page. Okay, so what else? There was a lot of good discussion on no surprise acts. If you're not getting information from CMS and from the ASA on that, you need to make sure that you are aware of what anesthesia practices need. It is on my list. It's just the end of year has been very busy for me, meetings and work. So I've got quite a few that I want to get back to, but I wanted to at least give this heads up for 2023. So when we get our relative value guide soon, I don't have mine yet, we want to just make sure that we look at those changes in everything at the front of the RVG book. We're expecting the ones with the ultrasound being combined with these blocks. We know that's coming, and we know it's going to be like that in our relative value guide books as well. But you also want to look to see if there's been any verbiage changes. We know there's no 00 code changes. They would have been listed here as well. All right, well, let's see. I think that's it for me. You know, I like to end with, well, this one's a Merry Christmas one, or Happy Holidays, whatever you may believe. I like to say this because it's true, and this is especially the good time of year for it. So if you have the means and you're able, do Toys for Tots. Donate to your food bank. Giving makes you feel good. That is true. And even if it's a little bit, I have a dollar rule I'll share with you. If someone's asking for $1, whether it's the muscular dystrophy, St. Jude's, the Santa ringing the bell outside for the Salvation Army, if I have $1, I'm giving him my dollar because I figure I can earn another one. That's my dollar rule. Thank you to everyone. Enjoy. This will probably be my last one for the year. If I have another time, I might stick one in, but just in case, I'm going to say be kind to one another, generous with your knowledge. I'd like to thank you for your support and comments this year. I try to get back with every single one of them. If I haven't, you guys know how to catch me because I tag my website on this as well. Well, I will make sure that I do. Everyone have a safe and happy holiday season, and I will see you maybe next year.